think generally you would do a project, and then after you're done with that project, you clean up your mess, right? But no, I don't do that. First, when I start a project, I have to clean up the mess from the other 3 projects I've done so that it's clean for you guys. Then I can make a mess, and by the end of the project, I'm too tired and too worn out or out of time to clean up. So I just leave it dirty until the next one. So it's time to clean up now because we're starting a new project. So today we're gonna tear all this out and make a DIY built-in tracing table. First step, clean it up. It's a little bit late right now. The kids are kind of sleeping, so we gotta be quiet. Like, careful. All done. I guess I wasn't quiet enough. So this is my cutting mat that I have. It's kind of my mouse pad, and it protects my desk when I'm cutting and gluing and everything else. But even so, actually it's pretty nice under here. It's a nice outline where it used to be. This is my old tracing tablet. Got this for Christmas a few years ago. It's worked great. It's the size of a piece of paper. It's lightweight, it's thin, it's nice and bright. But instead of this, the idea is to put this 1/4-inch plate glass right there and have that as a tracing tablet instead of this little thing. So that's my plan. We're gonna see how it goes. I did have the option of buying this piece frosted, but the level of frost that they were offering was just, it wasn't enough. So I have this Rust-Oleum frosted glass, and it works really well. You have a lot of control on the level of opacity that you can get on this, and I'll show you that in a minute. The first step is to get this positioned where I want it and to trace it out, because we're gonna cut a big hole in this desk and then router out just down 1/4 inch so that this sits flush with the top of the desk. So we'll get it where we want it. This isn't the middle of the desk, but it is the middle of where my monitor is, which is a 40-inch TV. It's kind of ridiculous. So we're gonna put it, I don't know how well this is gonna work. This desk is actually an outdoor table that my dad gave me years ago, and I've just had it for a while. And then it has 4x4 legs that I just screwed on, and it has this frame under here. The edge of the glass is right here on the inside of this 2x4. So we're gonna maintain this structure because we're gonna take out quite a bit of this, and I don't want the table to lose its structural integrity. It does have these 1x6s. It's probably really hard to see because the lighting is no good under here. There we go. So it has these 1x6s and 1x4 in the middle, and then the 1x6 on this side. I don't know how vital that is to the structure of how flat the desk is, but I think that this 2x4 is enough to kind of hold it straight. We might need to upgrade this to a 2x6. So the inside of that 2x4 is 4 inches back from this edge. So if I go to 4 inches right to this edge of the glass, I'm gonna go another inch inside of that, all the way around the glass to cut the hole, and then I'll router out back to the edge of this glass, if that makes any sense. You'll see as we go. So I have the glass positioned where I want. I'm just going to go around the entire thing and trace out the edge of the glass. Okay, we can get rid of this for now. And you probably can't see this on camera, but now I've got a nice clean black line where that glass is supposed to go. Now I'm going to measure, I'm going to go about 1 inch inside that line to cut my hole, about 3.5 mil. So I'm going to draw another line inside of that box all the way around, and then I'm going to use some saws to cut that out. Step 1, cut the hole with your saw. Woo! All right, we cut through a couple screws there, but that was to be expected. That was an old blade, didn't really care. So yeah, we'll just keep going. Made a big old mess. Woo! Making a mess now. Now we're going to use the oscillating tool to finish the cut. Whew, that wasn't too bad. No surprise that this desk is made of particle board. Everything's fake these days. Next step is to router out the recess for the glass. So we're going to need to set our router depth to the same thickness as our material that we're setting in there. That may be different for you. Mine's a 1/4 inch. And if you don't know how to set the depth on your router, maybe this project isn't for you. First cut was a success. Nice and straight, beautiful 1-inch ledge for the glass to sit on. It's gonna be really nice. So I did have to do that. If you saw, I had to do it in 2 passes because I only have, this is the biggest bit I have is a 3/4, and I'm trying to make a 1-inch groove. So I just went 1 pass and then finished it with a second. So we're gonna do that to the rest of it and see if the glass fits. Okay, that's all done, but before the glass can fit in, we have to finish out the corners. Okay, now that the corners are done, put the glass in there and see if it fits. It drops right in. Perfect fit. Don't you hate it when your mic stops working in the middle of a recording session and then you don't notice until you get to edit the video? Gosh dang it. This past me, bought some LED lights, and we're gonna put them on this plywood. Got this piece of plywood, you know, got the layout with some Sharpie, figured out how, did some math on it, figured out the spacing so that the 50 feet of lights would kind of, you know, work out generally-ish. You'll see in a second that it doesn't quite work out, but it's okay. So I did that layout, and I'm talking about something. I don't know what I'm saying here. Man, I sure talk a lot. So these LED strips that I bought are pretty crappy. They were the cheapest ones I could find because I have no money. But the actual lights are really far spaced apart on the strip. It's like, oh yeah, you got 50 feet, but I only got a couple hundred lights because they're spaced out so much. Like in my daughter's room, we have some LED lights around her bed. They're much tighter together. Got the LEDs all hooked up. This is the 3rd time recording it now because I keep messing it up. So I was a little short on my layout just because of the way that the LEDs land on the tape. I wanted it to stagger. So I wanted this one to be in the middle of these two so that it would, you know, step and make a nice pattern and be a nice grid. So it was a little bit short here and a little bit short on this side too. So because of that, at the end of the line, I ended up with about 3 feet, a little bit short of 3 feet extra tape that I just ran back there. So it worked out. The back is going to have a little bit more light than the front will, which is fine. No big deal. So this is the frosted glass from Rust-Oleum. A bunch of other brands like Krylon also makes one. Doesn't really matter which one you use. Just got to make sure to do a lot of light passes because as it dries, that's when you really see the opacity changing. So we frosted the back of it, but I still have that little black dot, so I know which way to put it in. That looks like crap. So there you go. The spray is very uneven. Oh dear. So you can, it's very obvious how uneven that spray frost turned out. But when I did it over here, I did it on these windows. That turned out really good. I don't know what I did differently to make that look so good. But maybe with a light behind it, it won't look so terrible. We'll have to see. Especially over there, like what the heck is all that? The next critical thing to do is to figure out how far away the LEDs are from the glass to get the ideal lighting situation. So, I need to go get my wife. So, we have to figure out, I don't really know, it's kind of an experiment, how close this needs to be to the glass to look and see if it's too close. You can see every little light. But is that, you think that's bright enough? No? I need more lights? Mallory says I need more lights. So I've got some spacers. We'll screw these into the table, then we'll screw the lights into the spacers. Let's go. Whew, that took some doing. But it is now mounted under here. I missed a couple times, but so we've got these little 1x. They happen to be the right size that I needed. Screwed directly into the top of the desk, and then the plywood is screwed into that. So it floats it out all nice. There's one on each corner. I missed a couple times over there. Well, we got it in the end. That still does not work. That doesn't work. I'm gonna find a new place for my airbrush because now it runs into the plywood. So that's gotta get fixed. But now that it's all in and this is installed, so right here we have the switch. Oh yes. That's so good! Having a light box for tracing built into a desk is gonna be a game changer for me. Whew. The camera is really picking up those LEDs, but in real life, it's much more diffused. Especially when you're sitting at the desk and you look at it this way, then it's extra diffused. But let me show you this. So I was worried about it not being bright enough, but I actually like the brightness quite a bit. So like here's a floor plan of a house I'm working on, and you can put this on top, and now you have some onion skins, onion layer, and it's perfect for tracing. Let's pretend like you want to draw this fox, which I'm going to do tomorrow. So then you get out your sketchbook, flip open a page, if I can get it. This is really hard to do one-handed. Slap your sketchbook on top and trace away. Some people say tracing is cheating, but that's a misconception and it's not true. Let me show you something. So this is my sketchbook. I've been studying owls lately. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know that. This is a drawing of an owl that I did a few weeks ago, and I traced it. I traced the outline, traced where the tree was and the branch and the worm and everything else, and then I shaded it and added value. But I only spent 1 hour on it. I noted that. I kept track of the time. It was kind of an experiment, an exercise for myself. And then I did it again. I drew the same exact owl and I traced it. I did the outline, and then I spent 6 hours adding value and texture and depth and rendering it. And this is what we get, right? It's not about what you start with. It's about how much time you put into it that gets you the result. The other thing that this is good for too, this can come off. And now this glass surface can be my paint palette. So this is a piece of glass that I use as my acrylic paint palette on both sides. And when it gets really gummed up or whatever and I want to clean it, you just pick at it and peel it off and the whole thing comes off in one sheet and it cleans off really easy. Same thing here, I can paint on here and just paint on my desk and then just scrape it up with a knife after it's dry and you're good to go. So that's awesome. So the reason I'm making this built-in tracing table for my desk and why I made it so big is because I have this sewing project in mind that I'm going to use this fabric for, and I want to be able to register all these different layers and line them up the way that I want. And that's going to be the very next videos. So if you want to see that next video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It'll come out next month. And we'll see you on the next one, I guess.